Hello, everybody. Welcome to Jumping in an Elevator, the podcast where I full stop. Special hello today goes to one of my top tier patrons, Charlie. Charlie, look, I think you suffer enough having a name like Charlie. You can be linked to so many Charlie related things, but I'm going to do it again. I hope you're not fearful of Willy Wonka, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory fame, because a picture came out today of Timothée Chalamet in the Willy Wonka costume, and I didn't know how to feel about it. So I just said, you know what, let me close that Twitter tab and let me just move on with my day. And this is actually the only time that I've thought about it besides when I actually saw it. And I still have no thoughts on the matter. I don't know what to think, so I'm just not going to think. So I give that advice to you, Charlie. I hope you're not thinking. Fantastic. How is everyone? Fantastic. I knew it. I knew you were all going to say fantastic. When I went to get my planner, which is how I plan everything, imagine that, using a planner to plan things, I saw this diagram, right? I'll explain it to the listeners. At some point in the last week, I came up with the concept of the internet fame hot funny scale. Now, I don't know what started this. I think it's because I saw some TikTok about ratios, like your likes to followers ratio on TikTok, and like what a good one is, and like how to tell blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, random. But then I put some thought into the types of people that get popular on the internet. So let me go through this scale quickly. This episode, we're going to be talking about Riverdale Season 5. I'll put time links in the YouTube video if you want to skip ahead. If you are listening and you want to skip ahead, it's probably going to be around about the 10-minute mark. So feel free to skip forward. Also, I had a martini just before, so I am a little bit tipsy. I am very lightweight. Like in the trenches. As soon as, like, if I have 2 standard drinks, it's pretty much over at that point. So great. So this graph, right? It also assumes that hot people aren't funny. So that's one of the key assumptions of this chart. That funny, like people who are fully on the funny scale are not hot, and people who are fully on the hot scale are not funny. If you're hot and funny, that's just kind of rude. Like, you can't really have that. So I've just made that assumption that you can't have both things, right? You can't be Hannah Montana. You can't be... No, I'm not going to say that, because that implies that I think Hannah Montana is hot and funny. Let's move on. All right, so first chart that we had here was linear. So it was saying when hot goes up in a linear fashion, funny goes down in a linear fashion. And then there's a line up the top called the internet fame line. That is when you are full hot, you are 0 funny. When you're full funny, you're 0 hot. But in the middle, you're 50% funny, 50% hot, and you still get the same internet fame score, or the internet fame threshold, if you will. Now, this didn't work out. I put a no next to this graph because I think it's more of a, what the fuck is that thing called? This thing, what's this called? Like swirly line, not a straight line. Parabolic, it's not really a parabola, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so it's not like perfectly linear. So I think when your hotness goes down, your funny increases at a higher rate. The steepness of the funny curve depends on the inverted steepness of the hot curve. Because once you realize that you're heading down the hot curve, you increase the funny curve. And I think that's absolutely correct. And, you know, we still have the internet fame threshold. But yeah, I think that's actually a very good inference that we did there. I think the gradient is parabolic, but this is maybe cubic. Slaying. Did you all forget I have a master's in mechanical engineering? It's weird if you did. What else happened this week? I have severe allergies, suddenly. Hay fever season is upon us. And I absolutely fucking hate it. Because, to make a long story short, this apartment that I've spent the last 10 weeks in fully, like I pretty much do not leave because I can't legally slay. Sometimes I want to open a window, you know? And there's 3 things that ruin my life when I open a window. First one is Flies, giant flies, suddenly. Like, as if I wasn't suffering enough. Why are giant flies here? Stay in your lane. What the fuck? Second thing, the fucking generator. Ready? I'm going to be silent for 5 seconds. You can hear it. The generator, I don't know what the fuck she's doing. She's getting louder and louder. And it's specifically in this room that I record in. It's infuriating. And the third thing is just the absolute smell of fried food coming from restaurants near me. This apartment, she's cursed in a sense that the longer I'm here, the more things I find wrong with it. But I think is a symptom of spending so much time in the apartment. Anyway, so let's say, for instance, I was cooking something and I burnt it and I needed to open the windows. It's like, would you prefer that the apartment smells like burning or that there's flies, pollen, a generator, and fried food smell? Choose your poison, honestly. Also, my hair is so fucking dirty right now. It's so dirty. That's not related, but it's just so dirty. I was trying out like this thing where like if you make it dirty, it's easier to style, which is true. It doesn't take away from the fact that it's very dirty. Fantastic. Next thing, the Esper comeback. Yeah, I screamed. Yeah, I collapsed. Last episode of the podcast, I gave a little preview on it, and they lived up to the hype. It actually wasn't as hyper pop as I thought it would be, but still fantastic. Love the music video. Those are my girls, right? I need to learn the Savage dance. Currently learning NCT Dream Hello Future dance. Feeling very gorgeous. Very gorgeous, gorgeous girls eat soup. That's a reference. I was actually looking at my DMs before recording this, and someone had replied to the video that I put up of me dancing and said, if it ain't cute, leave it on mute. So that's fantastic. Also, on TikTok, I did a tracksuit song reveal. So if you remember, a couple of years ago on my YouTube channel, I did a song that I made entirely using my tracksuit. And I never revealed what it was after 2 years. And then I made a TikTok yesterday letting everybody know what the tracksuit song is. I'm going to play it for you now. Are you ready for this? That's enough promo music, thank you. Let's see. See? It makes sense. Everyone was screaming and crying in the comment section of that TikTok, being like, it sounds absolutely nothing like it, telling me that it's a different song. I think I would know. I'm the one who made it. So what's that about? Also, TikTok comments, continuously fighting for my life. What's new there? In the video that I made about the tracksuit song, I mentioned that when I was a small YouTuber, I made this tracksuit song video. And someone was like, I don't know if they were being sarcastic or not, maybe, but they were like, was a small YouTuber. And I'm like, what do you mean by that? Yeah, I was a small YouTuber. I wouldn't say I'm a small YouTuber now. I feel like small YouTuber is up to 100,000 subscribers, maybe? Or maybe up to the point where you're doing it full time. Something to think about, isn't it? Truly. I think that was all of my updates. It's just basically just allergies and Esper right now, and the occasional NCT Dream choreo on the Instagram story, and then this occasional sassy TikTok comment. Also, when I was looking up Riverdale plotlines, I remembered there was a new Pretty Little Liars show coming called Pretty Little Liars Original Sin. Am I ready to go back into those trenches? Absolutely. I was reading some brief speculation about it because they haven't released a lot of information on it. Like, we don't know if it's a spin-off or if it's a remake, blah, blah, blah. But from what I was reading, Miss I, Marlene King, is not obsessed with the idea, and it sounds like she wasn't fully consulted. So I think there was some reference about the body's not even being cold, talking about original Pretty Little Liars, that they're stored in the Warner Brothers jungle. And isn't that just like a problematic sleigh? Doesn't even make sense, but I'm going to roll with it anyway. All right, I want to get into talking about Riverdale Season 5. So that's what we're going to do. I saw a TikTok of someone mentioning plot lines in Riverdale, And everyone's like, this can't be real. And I was like, babe, absolutely, definitely real, because that show just does whatever. And I respect them for it, you know? Pretty Little Liars was my personal Riverdale, and I think it's so important that each generation has like an absolutely ridiculous show that they can cling on to. It's so important, you know? Season 6 comes out November 16, something like that. So by reading through season 5 now, I'm preparing you all for season 6. You're all welcome. Now we're going to have absolutely no context. Similar to how I did that Riverdale season 3 no context video on the main channel. We're just going to go through the Wikipedia page for season 5 and read through the plot. If you have no context, even better. But I'm not going to give you any additional context to what you might already know. Me personally, I think I knew season 3 and that's it. And the occasional season 4 Tik Tok would pop up and that's all I knew about it. So that's where I am. So here we go. Season 5, episode 77 overall, episode 1 of season 5. Chapter 77, Climax. Betty and Jughead ask Charles, who the fuck is Charles? Great start, to investigate the tape. Okay. And Brett leads them to a secret red band screenings led by the Blue Velvet owner, David. That's a lot of words and names that I'm not familiar with. Betty and Kevin, we know Betty and Kevin, the girls, deliver a homemade snuff film to gain her ticket to the screening. It is my understanding that a snuff film is a homemade movie in which someone gets M-worded. Is that correct? Why are they doing this on Riverdale? David spots it as a fake and Betty must give him the snuff film of her father as a child. What? K.O. Kelly comes to town to go up against Archie in a boxing match for one of them to be admitted into the Naval Academy. Archie loses, and I'm so thankful for that. Archie just gets away with too much shit. About time he lost. Tony tells Cheryl, amid their prom queen campaign, that her grandmother is not accepting of her dating a Blossom. Now, Tony was Miss Girl from The Serpents / dating Cheryl / she had some kind of problematic past, I think. So the grandmother's not accepting of her dating a Blossom. Cheryl's a Blossom. The Blossoms are really something else. Betty sneaks Jughead into the rave. Love that. They find several snuff films being shown containing the gang and Jellybean in attendance. Now, Jellybean is Archie's sister, correct? Maybe I'm thinking something else is a snuff film. Why is Jellybean there? At prom, Archie tells Veronica about his and Betty's kiss and they break up. Slay. During prom, a live stream of the masked gang is played, killing a masked owl at the video store. Hello? Later revealed to be David. What a fucking sentence. Okay. Cheryl and Tony do not go home together following prom, and that's honestly the scandal of the day. Forget the person and the owl. Veronica returns home and tells her parents of Archie's unfaithfulness. And Hiram overhears. Not Hiram. Mr. Hiram. He does too much, I would say. Look, I'm all for a ridiculous villain character. Maybe he is appropriating Italian culture by assuming this mafia persona. I don't know. But he's just doing too much, basically. Archie returns home to find a videotape that shows a recreation of his encounter with the Black Hood. The Black Hood. Is that Betty's dad? The Black Hood. Sure, let's go with that. Episode 2, The Preppy Murders. Archie wrestles with emotions after he watches the videotape and is told by Mary, who the fuck's Mary? Maybe his mum, that George Augustine and his son are asking Archie to write a letter to negotiate for a lesser sentence for killing Fred. Who the fuck is Fred? Okay, slay. Jughead and Betty discover that Brett has been murdered in prison. Sorry to this Brett, no fucking idea who you are. Something just bit me on my arm. I need to move out of this apartment. They suspect David killed Brett. Every time I read the name David, I just think of David from Schitt's Creek. But later find out he had been hanged in the lodger's cabin. Cheryl attempts to persuade the Blossom Maple Board to construct a sanctuary for the Uktena tribe so that she can be with Tony, but they refuse. So Penelope kills them. Penelope kills them while Cheryl and Tony are out of town. Honestly, mom of the year. That American accent. You forgive, you forget, but you never let it go. The Malloy family attacks Veronica. Don't know who they are. But Hermosa steps in to kill them. What is going on? Who is Hermosa? Veronica and Hermosa, along with Hermione. Hermione's the mum. Who's Hermosa? Guys. Devise a plan to force Hiram into retirement. Old man things. Hermione later decides to divorce Hiram. That's a big plot twist. Girlboss should have left him ages ago. Another tape arrives at Betty's house, showing the auteur making their way inside of Betty's house. Betty and Jughead figure out that Charles is behind the recent murders of Brett, Joan, and David and confront him. Charles, is that Betty's brother? The half-brother? The one that pretended to... Yeah, no. I was going to say Charles is the brother that killed her actual brother in the orphanage. Were they in an orphanage? And then came back and pretended to be someone chick and then killed someone in the kitchen. And they're cleaning up the blood and shit. Betty, honestly, she's a girl boss. She went from murdering someone in her kitchen to actually joining the FBI. Spoiler for the end of the season, or halfway through the season. They suspect that he is the auteur, but after questioning Jellybean, Betty and Jughead realised that she and her friends had been making the videotapes because she was upset that Jughead was leaving town. Normal response, you know? Your brother's leaving town, time to make some snuff films. With graduation, this is episode 3 by the way, graduation. With graduation approaching, Archie learns that he will have to repeat senior year. Ooh. Principal Weatherby still allows him to walk with his classmates, and we love that. With Jellybean being exposed as the voyeur, FP, Jughead's dad, makes the decision to move back to Toledo. Isn't that the guy from Fast and Furious' last name? With Gladys. Is Gladys the mum? Not the New South Wales Premier. The gang graduates while Archie makes a decision to join the army after he struggles with the absence of Fred. Because the dad passed away. When did the dad pass away? I want to say season 4. FP and Jellybean depart, and the Riverdale High students bury a time capsule. Oh, you just know there's about to be some time travel. Meanwhile, Cheryl decides not to attend college and breaks up with Tony. Girlboss antics. Archie announces to the gang that he is leaving for the army, and they say their final goodbyes the next day before swearing that they would meet a year from that day. So this is like year 12 vibes. But they don't have year 12 in America. So it's like senior year. After Archie leaves, the gang quickly stops talking. Isn't that just how it goes, right? You're like, yes, can't wait to chat to you more over the holidays, blah, blah, blah. Never speak to the person ever again. Guys, my arm is now burning after initially itching from the spider bite. I'm assuming it's a spider. I don't even know. Maybe this is the worst day of my life. I don't know. It's up for debate. Veronica vacations with Hermione before college. Betty tells Jughead about kissing Archie. Jughead moves out of the Cooper house after Betty leaves for Yale, girl boss, and squats in Archie's house before it is sold. So Jughead is homeless? He then moves into the bunker. Is this the bunker that the kids were doing drugs in for gargoyles and girl bosses? I think it was called. Yeah, that sounds about right. He then moves into the bunker. 1 year from their final goodbyes, Jughead goes to Pops to meet Archie, Betty, and Veronica, but they do not show. Oof. This is his Joker origin story. He notes that it was ultimately 6 more years before the gang reunited, brought back together by another mystery. Do we get a little time travel? We do. Episode 4, Chapter 80, Purgatorio. Hang on, let me read you that with an Italian accent. Purgatorio. Now hold on. Purgatorio. That's so many R's. I'm not going to do it. Stop. After 7 years away from Riverdale, Archie returns home to find Tony... Oh my god, this sentence. Everyone, prepare yourselves. After 7 years away from Riverdale, Archie returns home to find Tony performing with Fangs and Sweet Pea in what was formerly La Bonne Nuit and now the White Worm. Okay, so Tony, Fangs and Sweet Pea. Fangs and Sweet Pea were part of the gang that Jughead was CEO of. And La Bonne Nuit was Veronica's little burlesque club that she was running underneath the diner. Remember, she started the burlesque club when she was like age 14. Who else is doing it like Veronica? No one, because they simply do not have the drive, ambition, charisma, uniqueness, nerve, and talent. Right? Tony shows Archie around town, where he realizes that Hiram is trying to clear out Riverdale for his benefit. What benefit? Meanwhile, fucking Hiram is still just fucking around in the town. Get a job, stay away from her. Meanwhile, Betty is training with the FBI in Quantico, Virginia, and has been having vivid nightmares about being held captive by the trash bag killer. Slay. A result of a mission that went horribly wrong for her. Okay. Veronica is seen celebrating her wedding anniversary with her husband, Chad, who is found to be controlling of where she chooses to work. We don't love that. He wants to start a family, but Veronica does not want to put her ambitions on hold. In New York, Jughead's girlfriend moves out. Guys, the generator just turned off. Maybe this isn't the worst day of my life. In New York, Jughead's girlfriend moves out because she realizes that his novel is more important to him. You know, as they say, once you put that pen to the paper becomes the pen. I just made that up, and I think it has levels, if you really think about it. Back in Riverdale, Cheryl has been rebuffing Tony's advances for years, as she has been hiding it out in Thornhill with Nana Rose, as if Nana Rose is still alive after 6 years. Nana Rose, not to be rude to Miss Nana Rose was on her last legs, right? Last time I saw her, which was season 3A. Nana Rose has been through it. I think she has one eye. That sounds right. If it's not right, it is now. But she managed to go 6 years. Love that for her. So Tony's trying to hit on Cheryl. Cheryl's like, no, I'm hiding out with Nana Rose in Thornhill. Archie and Tony return to Pops to find Betty, Jughead, and Veronica all having been receptive to phone calls from Archie. Meanwhile, Lynette Squeaky Fields, a waitress from Pops, decides to leave Riverdale and hitches a dangerous ride to California as Jughead honestly narrates that she'll never arrive in California. So she's about to be M-worded. There's so much murder in this show. We should do like a chart of deaths for Riverdale. The Riverdale chart of deaths. That sounds like something of depths from Genshin Impact. Sorry, that was the martini. Episode 5. I don't know how far we're going to get. This is traumatizing. Episode 5, Chapter 81, The Homecoming. After returning home, the gang soon realizes that Riverdale High is in danger of losing its funding due to teachers and students defecting to Stonewall Prep. Oh, I think I know where this is going. I swear to God, if they start teaching the classes, I'm going to end the podcast forever. Betty returns home to find Alice and the twins. The twins. I'm guessing the sister's kids? Polly. Yes. Betty returns home to find Alice and the twins, but stumbles upon Polly sneaking in late at night. Where's she been? She's a sucker for an MLM, isn't she just? Polly claims to have been working in a nightclub, but Archie sees her with the ghoulies and suspects that she's using drugs. Now, the ghoulies were the ones that were hired by Hiram to make the Jingle Jangle, which was the kids' drugs that was giving the cheerleaders seizures in season 2 and was never, ever brought up again. And isn't that just so fantastic? Betty confronts Polly, but Alice shuts her down. Archie and Betty, along with some of the serpents, raid the Andrews house. Andrews house. Who are the Andrews? I can't think of who the Andrews would be. Find evidence to send them to jail. Betty and Archie clean up the mess and have sex in the shower. What? Who are the Andrews? Oh my god, okay. Meanwhile, Jughead dodges debt collectors as he still faces writer's block. Give it up. Give it up. Get a job, right? Do it on the side. Be responsible, Jughead. You're setting a bad example. He asks Tabitha for a job waiting tables at Pops. He listened. Thank God. Veronica realizes Chad is having her followed. Who is this fucking Chad? And has frozen their bank accounts. Archie persuades Betty, Jughead, and Veronica to become temporary teachers at Riverdale High. Oh my God. So that doors will be able to stay open. Guys, the podcast is over. That's it. Goodbye, everyone. It's been fun. Riverdale High is later privatized, being funded by Cheryl. She's just a never-ending source of income, isn't she just? Everyone needs a Cheryl. Oh, I need a Cheryl. I would like to buy an apartment, but everything in Melbourne is so obscenely expensive. I'm like, how is anyone, let alone people my age, buying apartments? It reminds me of that thing of Janet from Real Housewives of Melbourne, where she's at the cafe and she's like, where was the money that she went to work and got herself? Not her dad's money or her grandpa's money. Ugh, I need my own Cheryl to help me do this. Hiram dissolves Riverdale's township. Slay. Elsewhere, Polly, having run away after fighting with Betty, is seen being chased by a truck. Is this the trash bag killer? What a name. It's embarrassing for them. Episode 6, Chapter 82, Back to School. This is going to be the worst episode ever. The gang begins their first day as Riverdale High's newest teachers, while Hiram and Reggie struggle to find ways to keep the town suffering. Reggie? Why is he working with Hiram? When I said get a job, that's not what I meant. Polly has been missing for several days after being chased by the truck, remember everyone. And Tony tells Betty that Polly has been meeting up with a trucker for sex at a sketchy truck stop. What the fuck is going on Riverdale? Betty and Alice follow a lead from the trucker and find Polly's belongings on the side of the lonely highway. Meanwhile, Archie asks Veronica to fund the football team as Chad visits town. Doris Bell now walks as an informant to both Cheryl and Hiram and tells Cheryl that Tony reinstated the Vixens and Hiram that Archie has started the football team. But who the fuck is Doris Bell? We are suffering. This is what the effects of climate change. My nose is so itchy from the fucking pollen in the air. Veronica looks to open a jewelry store at the former Blue Velvet Video. I'm getting Blockbuster vibes. And Betty and Archie struggle with finding places to hook up unbeknownst to Jughead. Why? He knows you two aren't together. He knows that him and Betty aren't together, so he can kind of just deal with it. Tabitha helps Jughead with his book and leads him to an old man who tells him how his friends were abducted by aliens known as the Mothman, who live in the woods off the lonely highway. This could be satire. Someone could just be fucking pulling my leg right now and just writing random shit, and I'd be like, oh, okay. Alice, Betty, and Kevin ping Polly's cell phone, leading to a discovery in Swedlow Swamp. Jughead alerts Archie to the fact that fires have been started outside their house. So does that mean Jughead is staying with Archie? Boy boss has got to stick together. Episode 7, Chapter 83, Fire in the Sky. Betty, Alice, and Kevin take a body they found in Swedlow Swamp to the morgue. Or do they think it's Polly? I wonder if it is Polly. Dr. Curdle Jr. is unable to identify the body, and Betty suspects it is the body of Margaret, a woman who went missing years ago, and she ended up in the swamp. However, Margaret's body is recovered days later. It could be Miss Polly, Polly Pocket. Meanwhile, Veronica enlists her students to help build her jewelry store while funneling money back into Riverdale's economy. All right, everyone, we're going to have a 5-second silence break. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's read that again. Veronica enlists her students to help her build her jewelry store while funneling money back into Riverdale's economy. Remember, Hiram and Reggie are looking for ways to make the town suffer, and Hiram is her father. Hiram, however, tries to deconstruct her plan. Archie receives a visit from Corporal Jackson just as he is reinstating the Riverdale Fire Department. Okay. Cheryl and Tony agree to coach the Vixens together, or they're going to get back together, aren't they? But they butt heads. Jughead and Tabitha continue to investigate the Mothman and find that Nana Rose has kept a disfigured corpse of one of the What the fuck? Find that Nana Rose has kept a disfigured corpse of one of the Mothmen in a maple barrel for several decades. Why do I feel like I've read that before? I feel like I've said that on the podcast before, or am I having deja vu, Olivia Rodrigo tease maybe? They unpack the corpse in the kitchen at Pop's because where the fuck else would you unpack the corpse of an alien? In Pop's kitchen. Shout out to Pop, you've been through enough. During the graveyard shift, Jughead sees a bright light outside Pop's. His mind goes blank and he can't remember what happened after that. Of just giving aliens. Where's Demi Lovato when you need them? The corpse from the kitchen is gone the next day. As Betty comes to realize more women are missing from nearby towns, she begins to suspect a serial killer is on the loose. Now, Riverdale just cannot catch a break from these serial killers, right? Betty's dad was one of them. I thought he was the Black Hood. So why was Archie having fucking nightmares about Betty's dad and now they're hooking up? It's potentially too much for one to think about. Episode 8, Chapter 84, Lock and Key. Jughead struggles with his possible alien encounter, and Tabitha comforts him. Who the fuck is Tabitha? All right, she's a girl boss. Let's move on. He later also sees an alien-type hallucination while teaching at Riverdale High. I wonder what subject he teaches. Definitely not maths. And also having a bath at the house. Kevin and Fangs decide to abandon their open relationship and announce to their gang that they are engaged and helping Tony raise her child. All right, everyone, I want you to just pause for a second and remember this is 6 years after high school ended. Me personally, high school it finished 9 years ago. Why are these people doing so much, potentially too much? So Kevin and Fangs are engaged and raising Tony's child. Slay. However, Kevin struggles with committing to Fangs. Cheryl is saddened by the announcement and decides to host a key party at Thornhill. At the party, Archie and Chad squabble. I hate that word, squabble. Ew. Which causes Veronica to file for divorce. Just like that. At the party, Archie and Chad squabble. Boom, divorce. Cheryl reveals to a disinterested Tony that she built a nursery so that they could raise the child together. Where did this child come from? Archie and Betty end their sexual relationship and Archie and Veronica rekindle their romance? Oh my god. Veronica and Betty are just better off together at this point. Archie's just... Kevin calls off his engagement with Fangs and Cheryl shares a passionate moment with Minerva. Okay, Betty and Alice receive a call from Polly, who's alive, claiming to be at a phone booth off of the Lonely Highway. Girl, you're about to be abducted. When they arrive, the phone booth is dismantled and covered in blood. I just got chills. I'm also going to put my glasses on because I'm developing a migraine. I think it's from the migraine, lack of dinner. Wait, not me saying migraine from the migraine. Migraine from the martini, lack of dinner, and reading about aliens in Riverdale. Episode 9, Chapter 85, Destroyer. Archie and Veronica struggle to keep the Bulldog's spirit alive after they lose several games. Like, the way this show goes from, Polly's potentially just been murdered at a phone booth. Oh no, the Bulldogs lost several games. Betty receives a call from Glenn about the blood discovered on the destroyed phone booth, and it is a match to Polly. Betty struggles with realizing that Polly is most likely dead and tells Alice that Polly's blood was not a match. She's lying. She lied several times. Meanwhile, Jughead realizes a student in his class may have had encounters with the Mothman. However, the student leaves town with his parents. Convenient timing, always is. Betty and Jughead visit Old Man Dreyfus off of the Lonely Highway, and he is convinced that Polly had an encounter with the Mothman. Kevin decides to go back to cruising. Remember, he was cruising in the woods while people were getting murdered. People getting murdered in the woods, and he was looking for guys in the woods. It was a dark time for Kevin, and he's back. He hits a roadblock. What's the roadblock? Physical? Or like mental? What's going on here? The Bulldogs face the Stonewall Stallions. I get the vibe that Stonewall is Riverdale, but like reloaded, the re-up, Roman Reloaded, of course. It's like slightly better. And receive a small victory when they score for the first time in the season. Is this because Archie's just like a shit coach? Because I would believe it. Betty goes to the truck stop to save girls. What a sentence. And get justice for Polly. Back at home, Betty finds Glenn, who tells Alice that Polly's blood was a match. Now remember, Betty lied to Alice. My name isn't Alice, but her name is Alice. And I am looking for Wonderland. And they're looking for Polly, who may have been abducted by aliens / murdered at the phone booth. Episode 10, Chapter 86, The Pincushion Man. Guys, I'm getting really into this now. This has the most viewers for the last 3 episodes. Usually it starts off really high and it goes down throughout the season, but this is actually higher than the last 2 episodes, which is interesting. Also, the camera has decided to focus on Lady Gaga and Doja Cat behind me. So that's fantastic. I don't exist when I put glasses on. Isn't that just like synonymous with the way the world sees people who wear glasses? You know, we're people too. The Pincushion Man. Betty discovers Glenn is writing a dissertation about the Cooper family. I mean, I would too, so much shit went down. While Alice and Betty discover that Juniper and Dagwood may be victim to the family's darkness. Juniper and Dagwood, I'm guessing, are the twins, Polly's twins. The ones who were famously thrown into the fire during the hallucinations in season 3. Remember, Polly joined the cult with the guy from the 90s shows, and he was like running the cult, and he tried to get in a rocket to leave the Earth. Not making any of this shit up, okay? They may be victim to the family's darkness. Archie, the serial killer gene. This is the serial killer gene. Maybe they're doing it. Archie learns he may have been sent on a dirty mission just as he and Kevin prepare for parent-teacher night. Okay. Hiram and Reggie prepare to buy the Blossom Maple Groves from Cheryl, who refuses. Jughead and Tabitha share a moment at Pops. I don't know what it is about the name Tabitha. I just assume that they're over the age of 50. Like, I know young people named Tabitha, but in this context, I'm like, Jughead's hooking up with the 50-year-old waitress. Jughead convinces Tabitha to watch over him, and he takes psychedelic maple mushrooms to help him write his novel. Okay. She reluctantly agrees after Jessica comes to town. Who the fuck is Jessica? Hiram intentionally causes a breakout at the prison. Does he mean like a breakout of what? Does he mean the inmates are escaping? Or there's a breakout of some virus? Or is there acne? Would love some more context. Charles and Chick arrive at the Cooper house to be married by Alice. My eye just twitched. Charles and Chick arrive at the Cooper house to be married by Alice. What? Charles and Chick arrive at the Cooper house to be married. Who is Charles? I thought Charles was the one that Chick killed. Maybe Charles is the FBI friend? Isn't that David? Oh my god. Okay, when Glenn arrives, they decide to play a game of the Pincushion Man. Juniper is told to stab Glenn, but Betty does so instead before violently stabbing chick and getting Charles shot? Juniper is told to stab Glenn, but Betty does so instead before violently stabbing Chick and causing Charles to get shot. Veronica hits a roadblock in her divorce. So many roadblocks. Just last episode we had Kevin hitting roadblocks trying to cruise in the forest with the dead people. And now Veronica's hitting a roadblock in her divorce. Reggie sets fire to the Maple Groves, and Jughead experiences a horrifying drug trip. The FBI decides to move the case upstate, and Betty takes matters into her own hands. Didn't Betty just stab someone? Tabitha returns to the bunker to find bloody handprints on a completed copy of Jughead's novel. Did he finish it and then just leave? Episode 11, Chapter 87, Strange Bedfellows. All this has extremely low ratings. Archie and Kevin get to work rounding up the escaped inmates. Veronica returns from New York, and Archie breaks things off with her until the divorce is finalized. Spicy. At her jewelry store, she is robbed by Darla and Dodger. I don't know who they are, but I'm standing regardless. Meanwhile, Tabitha grows concerned about Jughead and asks for Betty's help. Jessica comes from New York to help them and drugs them with psychedelic mushrooms in order for them to give her Jughead's completed manuscript so that she won't be implicated for anything he may have written about her. I'm not even going to discuss that sentence because I don't have enough context. Hiram and Governor Dooley, what a name, argue about the acquisition palladium that was being extracted beneath the prison. They were extracting palladium beneath the fucking prison? Several inmates hold the duo and Sheriff Keller hostage. That's Kevin's father. Hostage in the El Royale in order to receive the palladium. So the inmates want the palladium. Would they even know what the fuck to do with palladium? With Veronica serving as the collateral. At Thornhill, Penelope begins a ministry to once again help her try and cope with Jason's unjust death, and Cheryl is reluctant to join until she experiences a revelation. Elsewhere, Jughead lives amongst the homeless again before deciding to hitch a ride on a semi-truck back to New York, leaving Tabitha with a voicemail so she knows his whereabouts. Jughead is just going through it, right? But do I care? I don't know if I care. Like, he's always slightly annoyed me. Oh, my nose has never been itchier, by the way. The fact that I'm not itching my nose right now, that's so slay of me. Like, that's so, like, CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Like, I just have so much self-control. Episode 12, Chapter 88, Citizen Lodge. Reggie pays back his father's debt to Hiram, but decides he still wants to work for Hiram due to his strained relationship with his father. So he was working with Hiram because he had to pay off a debt. There we go. Reggie asks questions of Hiram's journey to the top. Bop to the top, maybe. And Hiram tells him his origin story. Okay, so this is like a flashback episode. Hiram, then Jamie Luna, got his start shining shoes with his father. Jamie realized that the shoe shining business wasn't providing for his family and began to work for a local gangster to Riverdale known as Vito. Why is this kind of giving me like Volturi vibes? Meanwhile, Jamie pursued a young Hermione and developed a connection with her through the money he gained at his gig working for Vito. Jamie's father resented his behaviour. Why am I reading this like it's interesting? Especially following a fight that Jamie started at school after he wished to be referred to as Hiram Lodge due to his embarrassment to be associated with the Luna name. Hiram's really crusty. Like, I don't know how else to describe Hiram. He's just crusty. Elsewhere, Jamie's father met with Vito to request that he stop bothering his son, leading to Jamie's father being shot in front of Pops. Following his father's death. Wait, there was Pops back then too? How old is Pop? Following his father's death, Hiram vowed to avenge the Luna name and legacy and killed the man who shot his father. In present day, Hiram locates Vito with Hermosa's help and murders him. So slay. Later, Hiram tells Reggie to reconcile with his father as he wished he had done the same with his before it was too late. Okay, we love how this is like the same story a generation later. Hiram later vows to do whatever it takes to extract the palladium that lies beneath the blossom maple groves. Everybody wants this palladium. What business do they have with palladium? Isn't that for medical devices? Hiram's not in the business of helping people, that's for sure. How many episodes are there, by the way? 19. And we're up to episode 13. We'll do a couple more. We'll see how we go. Episode 13, Chapter 89, Reservoir Dogs. This one has pretty high ratings as well. Betty and Tabitha develop a plan to lure truckers to Pops after Betty is prohibited from affiliating with the FBI because she's being crusty. Meanwhile, Archie and Eric wrestle with the tumor. Hello? They wrestle with the trauma. Not the tumor. Who's Eric? Archie and Eric wrestle with trauma, and Frank gives them a dog to help them cope. Okay. Later, though, they realize that the dog was in a fighting ring, and they target the leader of the dog fights in town. Wasn't there enough going on? Why do they need to introduce a dog fighting ring? Elsewhere, Reggie and Veronica build business as the jewelry store and aim at poaching investors of Sodale due to it becoming a complete scam. Cheryl offers Kevin advice, telling him to reconcile with Fangs, but Fangs has begun dating Moose. Who is Moose? Moose. Oh, Moose. From like season 1 of Riverdale. And isn't that just interesting? Because it was Kevin and Moose. Then it was Kevin and Fangs, and now it's Fangs and Moose. What a couple name. I'm sorry, if your name was Moose, first of all, would you not legally change it? Second of all, would you date someone named Fangs? Then it's Fangs and Moose. Imagine if you have a child. Yeah, these are my dads. Fangs and Moose. I have so much to say. Kevin later joins Cheryl and Penelope's ministry. Okay. At the White Worm, there is a ladies' night that helps lure potential suspects in the highway murders in. Betty is eyed by a trucker. Oh my god, are we going to get evil Betty? Betty's eyed by a trucker and baits him under the false pretense of sex. Tabitha tracks her location and he pulls over and tries to kill her with a chainsaw. Betty eventually strikes him with a wrench and they haul him off to keep him hostage. He just did not know that she was FBI. He really tried it, didn't he just? I wonder where's Polly in all this? Miss Pocket. Episode 14, Chapter 90, The Night Gallery. At Thornhill, Cheryl shows a reluctant Minerva her newest collection of paintings centered around Archie, Betty and Jughead. Why is Cheryl painting? Cheryl's painting shows a troubled Archie and tells the story of his journey with a new therapist. Within Archie's story, it is learned that several of the guys have started mining for palladium at the Blossom Maple Groves. However, a carbon monoxide leak in the mines causes them to all have terrifying hallucinations, including those of the Mothman. Guys, can we stomach this? Can we make it through? This is... Okay. I think a fucking panic attack. Moving to Betty's painting, it tells the story of her keeping Polly's potential killer captive in a classroom at Riverdale High. When the trucker won't admit to his killing of several women, including Polly, Alice gives Betty permission to kill him. Why is Alice giving permission? Betty... Wait, is Alice FBI? Betty comes to terms with the idea, but just as she's about to murder him, she discovered that he has killed himself by biting off his tongue and choking to death on it. Is this not a kids' show, Riverdale? Have things changed drastically since they last rated this show? What the fuck is going on with Jughead's story? So is Cheryl writing like the prophecy paintings? It's discovered that he returned to New York after his drug trip, only to discover the truth about the night he had sent Betty the menacing voicemail that he had fallen into the sewers. He experienced hallucinations of an entity known as the Rat King who taunted him relentlessly. I just stopped breathing. The Rat King. They're infringing on my IP. Back in town, he comes to terms with his issues with drugs and alcohol in a group meeting at the high school. Okay, we love that. Episode 15, Chapter 91, The Return of the Pussycats. Oh, thank God. During her world tour, Josie McCoy disappears and returns to Riverdale. Okay, I'm loving that she went on world tour. At least someone is slaying because everyone else is flopping to the nth degree. She comes back to Riverdale, seeking inspiration for her new album after learning of her father's death. That's not slay. During her time in Riverdale, she retaliates against her old classmates who suggest that she can help them save the town from dying. Honestly, same. I'd be like, I don't give a shit about your town, marking how they've wronged her in the past. She also reconnects with Valerie and Melody, who have each pursued careers in political activism and writing respectively. Valerie and Melody are reluctant to trust Josie following her abandonment of the Pussycats in high school. Move the fuck on. Later though, the girls decide to perform with Josie at a one-night event hosted at the White Worm. Meanwhile, Veronica and Tabitha discuss franchising the diner with Alexandra Cabot, who the fuck, and Tony gives birth to her son in the kitchen at Pops? Okay, slay. While in town, Josie also reconnects with Sweet Pea and proposes that the Pussycats get back together for their own tour, to which Valerie and Melody agree. Before boarding the bus to depart on tour, so they're just fucking like that, they're just like, fuck it, let's go on tour. Sweet Pea asks to come and Josie agrees. A man that knew Josie's father passes by before the departure and suggests to Sierra and Josie, Sierra must be Josie's mum, that her father may have been murdered because of his shady dealings prior to passing. Okay, all set aside though, Josie boards the bus excited for the future. So this man just told her father was shady and got murdered, and Josie's like, cool. Anyway. Okay, we can do this. There's only 4 episodes left. We can do this. Episode 16, Chapter 92, Band of Brothers. Archie seeks justice for the men who lost their lives under his employ in the army. I'm not even going to talk about that sentence because I have no fucking idea what's going on. Veronica gets creative in order to reattain financial stability, or she's going to invest in crypto, making moves against Chad and her father with the help of Reggie and Cheryl. Meanwhile, Kevin and Cheryl attempt to take control of the ministry after Penelope begins to defy their authority. Jughead embarks on an apology tour. What? And is placed on administrative leave from his teaching job. Apology tour? His book deadline is approaching fast. Oh, he's still writing that fucking book. And he realizes Jessica has his manuscript because she stole it, because she drugged him. Attempting to maintain his sobriety, he doesn't go to see her and rather attempts to pass off Cora's work, which he still retains as his own. That's illegal, jail. However, he does tell his agent and is let go of his client. Good. Elsewhere, Betty surveys the lonely highway posing as a hitchhiker dressed as Polly. Tabitha dislikes the idea of her doing so alone and steps in to help her. So Tabitha's like a legend. An enemy is legendary. I'm getting vibes that she's like a friend of everyone. A friend to everyone is a friend to none, as they say. With Veronica's divorce looming, Hiram gives Chad a chance to kill Archie. What? But he fails. Veronica gets everything in the divorce. Oh, we love that. Take him for what he's worth, Veronica. So Chad can avoid a murder charge. Wait, what? She gets everything in the divorce so Chad can avoid a murder charge. It's like a bargain. Meanwhile, Kevin leaves the ministry and an explosion at the mines tests Cheryl's relationship with her faith. Veronica threatens Hiram for causing the explosion at the mines and leaves Archie and Eric's lives in jeopardy. The explosion left them in jeopardy. The duo survive. Don't know who the fuck Eric is, by the way. And Veronica spares him. Hiram, I'm guessing. Chad attacks Veronica at the Pembroke, but she kills him. Okay. Jughead and Betty discover that a group of inbred blossoms have been living in the forest for 2 generations, with old man Dreyfus and the captured trucker being among them. Inbred blossoms. I'm not making this up. It says inbred blossoms. Lynette Fields' body is also found and then stolen from the morgue. Tony's student runs away after coming out to her family, leading Betty and Jughead's investigation to come to a head with Tony's situation. So does this student get captured by the inbred blossoms? The trio survey the junkyard with Fangs and Tabitha and discovered the group of Mothmen and a shed where victims were being held. Old Man Dreyfus admits to the murders and tells Betty where Polly's body is. Betty and Alice visit the junkyard and confirm it is her. So Polly is dead. Everybody screamed. Episode 18, Chapter 94, Next to Normal. This has the worst ratings of the season. This is so bad. Alice struggles to cope with Polly's death and imagines a world where the Coopers are still a happy family. Does that sound like something you want? Because you're never going to get it. Betty tries to get her to cope as best as she can, but Alice blames Betty for Polly's death, oh that's healthy, and for breaking her promise to return to Riverdale sooner. Meanwhile, Cheryl takes in Britta, when she's kicked out of her parents' house. Archie and Veronica break up after Veronica realizes they're on separate paths. Tony and Fangs declare their love for each other? Tony and Fangs. Tony and Fangs. That can't be right. Tony of Tony and Cheryl and Fangs of Fangs and Moose. Declare their love for each other and vow to have each other's backs moving forward. Tabitha lures Jughead into a dinner with her parents and the two decide to begin a romantic relationship. The gang buries Polly's ashes at the cemetery and celebrate her life. Season finale, episode 19, chapter 95, Riverdale RIP. Or Riverdale Rest in Peace, Betty graduates to the title of Special Agent at the FBI, Slay, and reopens the Riverdale field office, Double Slay, where she is called by TBK, don't know what that is. Veronica vows to exile Hiram once and for all, after he is responsible for a fire at Pops. He's a fucking menace. Hiram is just an absolute menace to society. Jughead and Tabitha burn the office of the Lodge Ledger to get revenge. Tony and Fangs struggle to maintain control of the serpents. Cheryl learns that her ancestor was burned at the stake by Jughead, Archie, and Betty's ancestors and demand they apologize to the town. What? She vows to use her good to create a school for troubled girls on Thornhill's grounds and unincorporated from Riverdale. Veronica and Reggie rekindle their romance as they plan for a casino in town. Oh my god, let it end. Archie names Tabitha, Tony, Alice, and Frank to the town council to help reincorporate Riverdale. Aren't you all like 24 years old? Calm down. Betty and Archie decide to begin a romantic relationship themselves, but as they are about to have sex in Archie's bedroom, they find a bomb under the bed that is about to go off. Having revealed to be placed by Hiram as his final rebuke. As Hiram drives away, Archie's house is seen blown up in a fiery smoke. That's explosive, pun intended. What the fuck? Honestly, I don't even know how to follow that up besides saying season 6 in a couple of weeks. Maybe I should watch it. Should I watch it? I think I'm going to watch it. You know, they kind of had me there. Like, I was intent on finding out what the next episode would have. Oh my god. I need time to, like, process that. While I eat my dinner, I'm going to process this. Because that was just explosive. If you listen to this, you're a fucking trooper. You're a legend. It's true. And congratulations on getting through Riverdale Season 5. Yeah, I guess that's an excellent point for me in the episode. I don't want to talk anymore because I'm suffering. Thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed it, feel free to leave me a review if you like, or like it on YouTube, and keep slaying, of course. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you all soon. Peace out. Bye.